What's up, guys? My name is Orion Tendricks, and excuse my voice, I'm just getting over strep, so if I sneeze or sniff or sound like a little boy, that is why. But today I want to talk about the show called Never Have I Ever, and it's a Netflix original, and they just premiered their second season a couple of weeks ago, and I watched it a couple days after it came out, which if you haven't seen season 1 and 2, pause this video, go watch season 1 and 2, and then come back and hear what I have to say, because I'm going to give some major spoilers from season 1 and 2, and I don't want to spoil it for you. So pause this video, go watch it, and then come back. But Never Have I Ever it's an interesting show, to say the least. And the main character, Devi, is also interesting, to say the least. And also very irritating. But we'll get into that in a minute, and all my opinions and thoughts and her character arc and all that great stuff. But I want to talk about Never Have I Ever and tell you what I like, what I don't like, and everything in between. So let's get into it. So to give you kind of an overview of what the show is about, it's about Indian American teenager named Devi Vishwakumar. I really hope I said that right. And the events that unfold in her life after not just one, but two traumatic experiences happen to her, which is her dad passing away, that's the first one, and the second one being her paralysis that takes place after her dad passes away. So after she gets over her paralysis, she decides, hey, I don't want to be uncool anymore. I don't want to be a loser. So she decides that the way to go about changing her status quo is by having sex with the hottest guy in school, which is named Paxton Hall Yoshida. Which, sidebar, actually, there was this little controversy going on Twitter, I believe, about the huge age gap that's between the stars that play Paxton and Devi. And they were talking about how there's a 10 or 10, 11 year age gap between the two of them. And to that I say, as long as they're both over 18, why does it matter? Like, why do we care about it? Why are we even saying something about it? I can think of countless stars who act in the same movie, same TV show, and they play love interest to each other's, and they're years apart, and they still act on screen together. But the most recent example that's coming to mind is the show Julie and the Phantoms. And the two stars of that show, Charlie Gillespie and Madison Reyes, which they play Luke and Julie, they're like 6-7 years apart. I mean, Charlie Gillespie is like 22, and then Madison Reyes is I want to say 16 going on 17 if she's not 17 already. So, I mean, if you watch the show, you know that they're not doing anything romantic, but you can tell that there's something definitely there. So, I mean, they do it, and Devi and Paxton, the stars who play them, they're doing it as well. So why didn't we say anything about them, but we're saying something about them? It kind of makes me wonder, are we saying something because it's the first one that the first age gap that we've actually noticed? Or are we saying something because we're picking and choosing when we want to speak up about it? I don't know, let me know what we're doing. But so she sets out on this whole adventure to redo her status quo, and there's a whole bunch of drama that pursues, and she ends up ditching her friends and not making the best decisions. Just not making the best decisions. And those decisions get even worse in season 2 when a new Indian American teenager comes along named Anissa and kind of steals her credibility, which her credibility is being the only Indian American girl at school, and she steals that title away from her. So she doesn't like that very much. But we'll get to that in a minute. But essentially, that's what the show is about. It's about Devi and the events that unfold in her life as she's going through high school and trying to get away from all those nicknames, or just get away from the wall and not be a wallflower anymore and not be, uncool and unpopular. So my main bone to pick with this show is with the main character, Devi, and that's simply because Devi is a selfish and self-centered person. For example, in season 1, Eleanor's mom had left for a long time and left her with her dad, and then she finally comes back into the picture, gives her all these hopes and all these things that they're going to do together just for her to up and leave again to go act on some show, whatever. And that leaves Eleanor feeling sad, and she calls on Fabiola and Devi, her best friends, to come and comfort her. Well, Devi, she's on her way over there to her house to come comfort her, and everything's good, fine and dandy, and then Paxton texts her and says, hey, I need you, it's an emergency, come over now. And for obvious reasons, Devi can't say no to Paxton, so she goes over to see Paxton, and she tells herself, okay, I'm just going to go over there, see what he needs real quick, and then I'm going to go and see Eleanor and comfort her. Pause for a moment. If it were me, and it was my friends that needed me, I'm sorry, but chicks before dicks. If you need me, I'm sorry, but it's just not going to happen. My friends need me, and you need me. I get that, but I'm going to go over and help my friends. And the fact that she didn't just really shows where her focus is at and where her priorities lie and kind of where her loyalty lies in a sense. But after she leaves Paxton's house, I think Fabiola and Eleanor, they have her location, so they found out that she was at Paxton's house, and they say, are you kidding me? You're at Paxton's house. Eleanor needs you. This is Fabiola talking, but Eleanor needs you, or she needed you, and you go to Paxton's house instead. She's like, well, he had an emergency too. It's like, doesn't matter. Those are your friends. But she chooses a guy over her friends. That's the first thing. Not only is Devi not good at prioritizing, but she's very hot-headed, and she doesn't think before she does things. And there are countless examples in season 2, but one of the biggest ones is when she decides that it would be a good idea to date both Ben and Paxton at the same time, because she thought, oh well, I like them both and I didn't want to let either of them down, so best solution obviously is to date them at the same time. So that's what she does. She goes and dates them at the same time, and if we've learned anything from TV, it obviously does not go well, and they both find out that they were dating the same person at the party that Devi throws at her house while her mom is away. Paxton runs off and Devi goes after Paxton, and we find out later that Ben actually felt really hurt by her going after Paxton and not staying with him, and talks to him, and then he ends up getting hit by a car and he can't swim anymore, which is very unfortunate. Another example that I can think of from season 2 is her mom, Dr. Nalini, I think that's how you say it, but her mom, Dr. Vishwa Kumar, she's a dermatologist, but her mom, it's been roughly a year since her dad passed away, and not her dad, but her husband, technically. It's been roughly a year since her husband passed away, and she wouldn't say that she's necessarily ready to get back out there, but if you know anything about death, that always, especially with death of a close friend, family member, whatever, if you were really close to that person, people are going to constantly bring it up and ask you, are you okay? Do you need anything? You know, if you ever want to talk about it, I'm here. And Dr. Vishwa Kumar got tired of that. She was tired of everybody bringing it up, so she wanted to be around somebody who didn't remind her of her husband or remind her of what she had lost. Starts to kind of see him and hang out with him. They go out to dinner and they go on dates, so I guess they kind of see each other. And she kind of gets away from the whole death of my husband situation, and it's nice. It's really nice, and you think, oh well, okay, it's nice that, you know, after some time of her husband being gone, she's finally getting back out there. Well, that's not how Devi saw it. Devi saw it as her mom was moving on way too quickly from her dad. Instead of confronting her mom and saying, hey, what's going on with you and Dr. I think his name is Jackson. You and Dr. Jackson, dad just died, we just spread his ashes. Why are you moving on so quickly? Instead of confronting her about it, she actually goes and stalks her mom and follows her around to see what's going on. And she goes through her purse and goes through her planner to see what she's doing. And it's just a whole mess. But long story short, Devi ends up crawling, her and her cousin Kamala actually end up crawling on top of the house, looking through the skylight so that she could see what was going on with her mom and the doctor. And she ends up dropping her phone, and she drops it on top of the hot tub. Well, she gets off the roof and she goes to get her phone and ends up falling in the hot tub and basically embarrassing herself for the 1,000th time. So overall, Devi is just to put it in simple terms, Devi is a mess, and she's hot-headed, and she's selfish and self-centered, and for whatever reason thinks that the whole world revolves around her. So the next character I want to talk about is Paxton, and if you watched season 1, you saw that Paxton was really just there for sex appeal, and he was just a sex symbol, and he represented where Devi wanted to be and the status quo that she wanted to reach, which was cool and popular and seen and noticed. We get a deeper look into Paxton's home life, Paxton's family, and his daily happenings that don't revolve around Devi. And I really like when shows do that. Like, they present a character in one of the seasons that are just there kind of for comic relief, or they're there for sex appeal, and then the next season they go into depth and we see, oh crap, this person actually does have some personality. With that, we also find out that his family and his friends and his teachers and everyone around him just views him as someone pretty and can't really get by in life on more than just that, his looks. And he doesn't take that too well. So after everything that happens with Devi, him getting run over by a car and getting cheated on, he goes to his counselor, and his counselor says, hey, since swimming is a no-go, you're going to have to rely on your grades. And since he's not doing so hot, you don't really have a good chance into getting into a good college. So the counselor sets him up with a tutor, and the tutor is Devi. Surprise, surprise. And they go throughout their tutoring sessions, and that's how they kind of mend their whole friendship. The one thing that I didn't like about Paxton is that he was just so back and forth in this season, in season 2. And what I mean by that is he would take 2 steps forward, he'd do something nice, he'd do a nice gesture for Devi, and then he'd do or say something to her and send himself right back to start. And it's like, dude, pick which one you want to be. Do you want to be with her, or do you just want to be her friend? For example, after they mend their whole friendship with the tutoring sessions, Paxton starts coming through Devi's window. I know, very Wattpad stereotype, bad boy, whole, what's that thing called? Trope. There we go. They start hooking up, they start relating on a deeper level, and it gets all cutesy and nice. But then we find out that Paxton's actually embarrassed to be with Devi, so that's why they don't do why they don't go out together and why they don't do things together in the daytime. And that doesn't sit well with Devi, and she goes to him and she asks, hey, can we go to the dance together? And he says no. So there you see, it was good, and then he said no, but that's because he got embarrassed because his friends came around, and we find out that he's embarrassed because he's like, I don't want to be known as the guy that dates crazy Devi, or I don't want to be known as the guy who dates the crazy girl. And in Devi's mind, that made sense. I mean, after everything that happened, the fact that he was just coming through her window and just being with her was just a miracle. But it wasn't. He shouldn't have been embarrassed to be with her. If he really liked her like he said he would, like he said he did, he shouldn't have been embarrassed to be with her. So, Ben. That's the next character that I want to talk about, and I really just want to glaze over him because I didn't really like Ben as a character. I mean, yeah, he challenged Devi, and he related to Devi in a way that Paxton really couldn't, and that was brains. Paxton didn't really have them. Well, we thought he didn't really have them until Devi brought it out of him. And Ben, he has tons of them, and so does Devi, and they get into it all the time because they want to see, who's smarter, who knows more, and he relates to her in that way. But other than that, I didn't really like Ben, and then especially how he treated Devi in the second season. I mean, yeah, she did cheat on you, but you didn't have to go and trick her into getting a nose ring, and you said you were going to get a tattoo, and you didn't. That was one of the scenes. Essentially, Ben says, hey, I'll get a tattoo if you get a nose ring. And Devi actually gets a nose ring, and Ben gets a pick and steal tattoo, and he wipes it off. And she says, why did you do that? And he's like, well, to basically teach you a lesson. You don't like being lied to, do you? So Now, Davy's actually got a nose ring, and Ben is being a complete jerk. And for a little while, Ben actually moves on with Anissa, and this doesn't sit well with Davy. So Davy, oh, Davy accidentally starts this rumor about Anissa, and it's that Anissa has an eating disorder. And Davy at the race, the marathon race, whatever it's called, the marathon race, she accidentally starts this rumor about her, and then later on she comes back to Anissa to see that she's crying, and she's like, why are you crying? And she says, because someone started an awful rumor about me that I have an eating disorder. And she's like, well, it's just a rumor. And come to find out, it wasn't a rumor. That's why she was crying. And she had actually came to Sherman Oaks High School so that she could have a fresh start. But now the same BS was happening again that was happening back at her old private school. And she didn't mean to start the rumor, but she did. And then she led a whole fake investigation to find out who really started the rumor, and it was her. And Davy ended up getting suspended when she told on herself and told that she was the one who started the rumor. And she was like, wait, what happened? The other girls just got a slap on the wrist. Why do I get suspended? And he was like, well, because first off, you lied to a teacher. You started a rumor about a student that wasn't true. Well, it was true. And you didn't know it was true, but you started a rumor about a student, and you led a whole faking investigation behind it. Why shouldn't I suspend you? And he suspended her, and I get it. I totally get it. Davy was going through a rough time, and her dad had just passed, but just because she was going through a tough time, that's no excuse to be a bad friend. Her grief that she was going through, yes, it was sad, but it was no reason to act like she did. I'm sorry, but she doesn't get any sympathy from me, and that's just how I feel. But after this whole drama with Anissa pops off, and she fixes it and convinces her mom to let her stay at Sherman Oaks, everything goes back to normal. But that's when Davy tries to ask Paxton to the dance, and Paxton says no, and then Davy goes to the bathroom, she starts crying, and then Ben also comes to the bathroom, the girls' bathroom, and basically comforts her and says, you deserve to be with someone who wants to be with you and wants to show you off. And with that information, she goes to Paxton and tells him, hey, you know, I can't keep doing this anymore. I'm not going to be anybody's secret because I deserve better than that. And Davy tells him that, and they stop their hooking up, and they go their separate ways. Well, during that time, Ben and Davy, they realize that they still have feelings for each other. I mean, Davy always knew that she still had feelings for Ben, but Ben just started to come around and realize that he had feelings for her. And in the end, I thought it was so funny how Ben said in the finale, he was like, oh my gosh, it's always, like, are you kidding me? He came to the prom, it's always been him. And then Eleanor comes and sets him straight and says, it hasn't always been him. After you two found out about what Davy was doing, she tried her hardest to get you back, and everything that she did to Anissa was because she was jealous of you two being together. So no, it hasn't always been him, which I said, dang, Eleanor, set him straight, let him know. But it's true, everything that Davy did was because she wanted Ben back, but Ben basically said, screw you, we're not friends, leave me alone, and that was that. And then finally he comes around on the 10th episode and says, hey, essentially says, hey, I still have feelings for you. Do you want to dance? And I have a problem with this because apparently I have a problem with everything. But my problem with this was he was about to ask Davy to dance when his girlfriend, who was looking beautiful, mind you, was there. And he had to dance with her once all night. And he was about to ask another girl he wasn't dating to dance. I thought that was messed up. I was like, dude, are you kidding me? You have a dance with your own girlfriend all night, but you're about to ask Davy to dance. Nope. Where's Paxton? Lastly, I want to talk about Fabiola and Eleanor, which are Davy's best friends, and I want to give a couple of honorable mentions. But Eleanor and Fabiola, I don't really have too much to say on them. I just love how inside Fabiola's life and what it's like for her to date Eve. And in season 2, we see that Fabiola really comes out of her shell and essentially becomes a copy of Eve, which is her girlfriend. and becomes just like her so that they can be popular, because there's this thing at their winter dance that's called Cricket Queen. And basically there's never been a cricket queen. Oh my gosh, how can I say that? There's never been a cricket queen and queen before, so they want to go and they want to campaign and they want to be the next queens. While doing that, Fabiola sort of loses herself in the whole mess of it all. But she ends up coming out, finding herself, and realizing that I'm not like you, Eve, and I'll never be like you. And Eve's like, okay, I never asked you to be like me. I know you're not like me. I know you like robots. I know you like watching the SpaceX launch. And I know you like all that nerdy stuff. And that's why I like you, because you're you. And then the whole thing with Eleanor, first of all, she cheated on Owen, and Owen was so sweet to her, but she cheated on Owen, and then she broke up with Owen to be with Malcolm, which honestly, she shouldn't have done that. Eleanor was perfectly fine with Owen, and she was just blinded by the diamond. She was blinded by the glitz and the former glam of him being a childhood actor and getting to act on a Disney show. And oh gosh, Malcolm is so pretentious and such a millennial, but he's not a millennial. And I actually liked how in the show, making fun of not just millennials but Californians, they were kind of like appealing to their stereotype and how people usually view them as, which are spiritual name-dropping nutcases. And they portrayed Malcolm as that way, and I thought it was really funny because they essentially made fun of two stereotypes in one, which I thought was really funny. Malcolm was an awful person, and I hate how he cheated on Eleanor, gaslighted her with his toxicity, and said, your friends are the problem, I'm not the problem. And then once Eleanor chose Malcolm over her friends, Malcolm ended up breaking up with her anyway, over text, mind you. So my camera battery is dying, so I just want to get my honorable mentions in really quick and say that Eve, love her, she's so beautiful, and at the dance she completely snapped. Dr. Vishwa Kumar, she is such a strong woman, and her character in season 1 and season 2 have been portrayed so elegantly but fiercely. And just one little thing, there was this one scene where you saw Dr. Vishwa Kumar's phone light up, and her lock screen picture was a picture of Devi, and I thought that was really cute. But overall, I think that Devi, and this is just my last note and then I'm gonna wrap up, but I think that overall Devi's quest for popularity was less about being cool and more about being seen. Because if you think about it, everybody knew her as something other than what she wanted to be known as, which was Devi. You know, at home she was kind of overlooked and she was somewhat neglected by her mom, because her mom was always comparing her to other people and making her feel less than, and especially comparing her to her cousin Kamala and saying, why can't you be more like Kamala? Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? And it made Devi feel really, really crappy. It made her feel like less than what she was. And then at school, she was basically invisible and her existence was overlooked as a whole. And I think her wanting to be cool was less about her wanting to actually be cool and more about her wanting to be seen and wanting to be heard and wanting to be who she wanted to be, which was not the paralyzed girl, or not the girl that got bitten by a wolf, or not crazy Devi, or not the girl whose dad died at her, I think it was her orchestra recital, but she wanted to be seen as Devi Vishwa Kumar. But little did she know, she already had two best friends, Fabiola and Eleanor, who already saw her for what she was and already loved her despite all of her downfalls and despite all of her mess. They loved her regardless of any of that. And to that I say, two good friends are way better than a whole plethora of them who don't even know, who can't even tell you your favorite color. And with all of that being said, that is the end of this video. If you liked it, give it a big old thumbs up, and if the comments are turned on, they probably won't be for this video, go ahead and comment down below your favorite show, and I might just give it a watch and talk about it. And also subscribe to my channel. This is the beginning of my journey, and I want you to be here for my progression and see me get better and see me rise to the pinnacle of my YouTube career or whatever. But honestly, I just want you here for the ride. If you're watching this right now, and if you did make it to this point, thank you, and you're pretty awesome. So might as well subscribe and turn on post notifications. And like I said, if the comments are on, go ahead and comment down below. And above all, I just hope you're taking care of yourself. Because remember, self-care is the best care. And yeah.